Welcome back. My next guest is a man who was in the priesthood for 12 years. I'm going to talk to him now about why he left and what he's doing now. Welcome, Sean.
Hiya, Richard. Nice to be here.
Very good. Tell us, how long is it since you were a priest?
I'm in the UK about 10 years now, so 10 add 2, but 12 years.
12 years. And how long did you actually do in the priesthood?
Well, 12 years on the ground floor, so to speak, and you can add another 10 in training, because I had to complete my secondary education as well. You know, people in Ireland will remember the old leaving certificate, which I did when I was 21, which is a wee bit older than people normally would. So it was catch up on the education front. Right,
so like an access course before you actually went to training?
Well, yeah, because obviously, seeing I hadn't been doing a lot of anything for a while, and when I went to the bishop, he obviously wanted to have some kind of credentials or some sort of proof of stickability.
And I suppose whether you were capable of studies or not.
Well, yeah, that too and all.
Tell me, what attracted you to the priesthood in the first place?
Well, you know, it seemed like the thing to do at the time. I mean, I was brought up in a place called Casserly in County Roscommon. If people want to pinpoint it, it's the place in the west of Ireland where they built a prison a good number of years ago, which used to be a mental hospital, as the people from back further before. Right. I think I saw it as a way into being socially accepted and expressing myself. It was like a banker's card or a visa card into respectable society.
And of course it was the very thing to do in those days, wasn't it?
It was. You'd never be
short of a cup of tea. A young man became a priest or a Christian brother.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends how far back you go, but certainly I would have been at the end of that era.
Yeah.
But you know,
but you would have still gathered credibility, really.
Exactly, it's a credibility and a confidence booster, and I thought as well, perhaps, you know, being honest, apart from the religious bit and the stereotypes of wanting to do the best for everybody, this old suit would give me a personality, a shield to face the world with.
And tell me, were you very religious at the time?
Well, I wasn't, but I did. You know, I would class myself.
You go to mass
spiritual.
on a Sunday.
Yeah, I went through a period like a lot of young people do when I couldn't be bothered, and then I did.
Right.
And then I felt, you know, I had the potential, certainly, for helping people.
And you know when they say, I got the calling, would you say you got a calling?
Well, I mean, yeah, in a sense, if you say, is there a definitive moment? I was working in...
And where did that moment come?
It actually came. I was working in a church as a caretaker, or a sacristan, as they used to call them then. Yeah. And I knew in me heart that, you know, educational-wise, there wasn't a lot going on. And I felt, you know, something inside me said, well, if I have the ability for this, and if this is what the good Lord wants, go for it and see what happens.
So you genuinely felt a calling?
Well, yeah, if you want to make it one of those.
So you went to see the bishop?
I went to see the bishop, and he obviously looked at my background, and because I knew the parish priest from working in church areas, he says fine, and then the bishop said fine, and the rest was history. I ended up in Rome for 6 years.
Right, so you'd done a bit of an apprenticeship then before you were actually accepted?
Yeah, I suppose to be like an NVQ.
So clearly, yes, because you wouldn't have been considered unless you had some sort of background within the church.
And then I did a year of training in Kiltegan, which is a bit like, I suppose, looking back in a boot camp for religious.
Right.
And then I went to Rome for my philosophy and theology.
Yeah. And of course the bishop would have seen some sort of commitment to the church over a period of time.
Well, of course he would. And you see there was the educational qualifications and the fact in being in the Irish College, so it was all monitored.
So you did how many years in Rome?
I did 3 and 2, 5 and 1, 6. 6 years.
6 years. And then were you sent back to Ireland, or?
Well, a bit like the football teams, I was transferred.
Transferred.
I was on loan to a place called Stetchford in Birmingham for 2 years, which was really good.
Tell us a bit about your normal day-to-day then in local parish.
A normal day-to-day in local... Do you know, I did this with the kids in one of the junior schools or the national schools I was in. I asked them to do my day's work. So they had me getting up in the morning, saying my prayers because I was a good Catholic. Then I had a cup of tea. Then I read the paper, then I went to see some old folks, then I had another cup of tea, then I said a few more prayers, then I had my dinner, then maybe I did a funeral or something, and then it was time for more prayers in bed. But I mean, it's not the kind of a job, if you call it a job, that has a specific timetable because it revolves around the needs. It can get a bit repetitive.
Now many people in the parish would say that, that old priest, he does nothing.
Well, yeah, except I did a lot of things, but a lot of things wouldn't be kind of typical of what, I suppose, you know, for Irish people, if they think back to the Father Trendy days, that would probably be me, because I did a lot of youth club work, a lot of school work, I did some radio and video work, community centre
So you were one of the trendy era
Yeah,
priests,
I suppose I broke out of the mould. I didn't like the collar because I felt it was a stereotype, so the only time you'd see it is a wedding and a funeral.
So at what point then did you feel that the priesthood wasn't...
Well, you see, in the introduction you mentioned, you know, why did I leave the priesthood? And I know when I did the article for the magazine back in December with the Indians on the front of it, I said I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for where I was first. So it's my life journey of which the priesthood is a constituent part.
And tell me now, does it sadden you now when we look at the recent goings on with the problems with the priests and the Catholic Church?
I tend to numb it out. You know, I tend to numb it out in that, yeah, it saddens me. But if you look at the statistics, any other area in society has the same amount of abuse issues as what church has. Church is highlighted because religious people should be more proactive in fighting the evil, but instead of that it was covered up.
Yeah.
So again, it's protecting the system, shoving the boys along, looking after your own. The system comes first rather than the person, and it's very, very obvious even in some of the religious texts. Let's say you have a one-parent family coming for a baptism. A person or a priest or a minister who's sensitive has to, if you like, take out or read round the words that's directed at the father as well as the mother, because obviously the person may not be present. So it's the system ruling the person rather than being person-centred. And that's the sadness. You have to keep the system right.
What advice would you give to somebody who wanted to join the priesthood now?
Oh, you know, it's not often I'm stuck for an answer. I'd ask them to think carefully. I thought celibacy would be a way out of having to deal with, let's say, issues of dealing with girls, you know, the interrelationship, all that. But it's not a way out. I'd ask a person to think very carefully. And you know, it's one of the questions I don't have an answer to, because you stuck me on that one, and not too many people stick me on something.
Tell us a bit about the work you're doing now then.
The work I'm doing now is, I mean, it's all part of a process. I'm working in social services, doing home care assessments for elderly folk in the community. So there is a progression, there is a sense of purpose. I think the one thing I'd say is, if it wasn't for where I was, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Okay.
And there does seem to be a sense of purpose to it, even if all the problems of life and the issues don't magically disappear.
Okay. Well, listen, Sean, thanks very much indeed. We do appreciate you coming in. It's been a very interesting story. Listen, good luck with the work that you're doing now, and thank you again.
And thank you again, and good luck with the show.
Thank you very much indeed.